And we're recording on this computer. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this exclusive launch of Jem Fuller's book, The Art of Conscious Communication for Thoughtful Men. We have the amazing man himself here, Jem, we're going to have a conversation, and we have some special guests waiting in the wing. We have Susan and Simon, who are going to come and chat a little bit about Jem and the book as well. But Jem, the day is here. It's launch day.
I know,
Yay!
quite surreal. It really is.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? We were just chatting about the process there and how streamlined it is because you're such a cool cucumber and you just let things happen as they need to happen. And it's been less than a year from writing to publishing. That's like a record.
Yeah, it's like I said to you before we went live, Karen, I feel like when something's meant to be, you're in flow, and things seem to happen easily. You meet the right people. You and I knew in our very first meeting, we knew that we were going to work together. And same with Susan. When I met Susan and did Susan's writing course, it was exactly the same. And it was an easy process. And the flow, we spoke offline earlier about the cover of the book, which is sitting behind you. That was the artist's first go at it. So Karen has an artist overseas and she sent the brief. The artist said, "What do you think about this as a starting place?" And we just loved it straight away and said, "Don't change anything. Let's just get on with this, And so, yeah, it's been a really enjoyable process.
Yeah, we've been hitting the mark from the beginning. It's just so amazing that, even the edits, all of the process has just been that, and it can be quite grueling for some people, I think, whenever there's fear surrounding it, as I said. But because you are such a cool guy who just goes with the flow of life and surrenders to it, and is quite conscious. You walk your you walk your talk, don't you, Jem? We have so many people sharing lots of love in the chat here, and we want everyone who's in the attendees, who's the lucky attendees. And I'm just going to share, if you stay to the end, we're going to share a nice Zoom link. Sorry, people watching on Facebook and YouTube, that's not for you. You need to come into the webinar and you get a special Zoom link for the after party. Okay. So, Jem, just quickly, because we're going to chat with you, we're going to chat with Susan, and then you're going to do an exclusive talk for us that you actually did a TED talk on the subject of communication, and that's a real treat. But just quickly, why was it important for you to write this book?
There's kind of two reasons why I wrote this book. The broader macro reason is purely around communication. And, through my working with leaders in organizations across government and not-for-profit and the private sectors, and also working with individuals more personally, it seems that so often we trip up in the communication piece. You can have people who are working for the same organization and really want the same outcome, but they trip up in the miscommunication. Or even in a relationship, you can have a couple who love each other dearly, but they're missing each other in the communication. And this applies broadly. And then also just looking at the state of the world at the moment, and unfortunately, it seems like people are shouting at each other, across these digital divides. And that's what the TED Talk is about. People are just kind of shouting at each other and trying to force their point, and it's not getting us anywhere. And really the way for us to move forward, I believe, is in more conscious communication. So that's the broader piece. And then this first book, which I think will be one of many in a series of conscious communication books. Mm-hmm. When I first came to Susan Pearce, to those of you who don't know Susan, you'll meet her in a minute. She's going to talk with us. When I first met Susan, she said, "Jem, I love the book. This is great. I think you need to pick a particular audience to write this book for." And she said, "I think this would be great for men." This was at the start of this year. And I'm passionate about men, obviously, and working with men and being one and being caught up in this culture of the Aussie male. And I believe that we can evolve from that. And then all the stuff started hitting the press this year around, some really poorly behaved individuals that were really setting a terrible brand of male for the rest of us. And I believe that most men are good, most people, but in particular to this conversation, I believe most men are good men. We're just caught up in a cultural stereotype that is hard for us to evolve from and break through. And so in this book, there are tools and ways that I hope will empower the average bloke to feel like he has some tools and ways to improve his own communication and bring his mates with him.
Such a powerful message, an absolutely powerful message, and you are truly the person to make, to deliver it. And thank you, Susan, from a woman who can now gift this to her man to, it creates some enlightenment, and it actually is how it's amazing how much of an impact it has. So thank you, Jem, as well. Will we bring Susan down for a little chat?
Hello.
We're going to pin you down here, Susan. Welcome. Thank you for
Yeah, it's
joining
great to
us.
be here. I'm so excited.
Susan, can you share with us what you seen whenever Jem came knocking at your door to write his book?
Yes. Well, when Jem started working as part of the Conscious Book Writing Club, he'd already written a significant amount of work, and his writing was beautiful. But straight away, in even meeting him, I could just see here's a complete role model in this space. He has stories that I think both sexes can relate to. And this is the thing about the book. I think women will get as much out of it as men will, but he certainly, from that male perspective, has so many deep, rich stories to share. And that's what I really loved in working with him, just honing it into something he's already an amazing role model for. I agree. I think he's got about 10 books at least in this series. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, he's just such a deep, rich storyteller, but has the ability to take things from inspiring stories to really practical how-tos. So I'm just so excited for this book to get out to the world and inspire so many men, and as I say, women as well.
Absolutely. Jem, have you anything you want to say to Susan?
Well, thank you to begin with. The right people come into your life, and I was introduced to Susan by a friend of ours, Kylie Patch, who also was a mentor for me in a previous life when I was employed in the same company as Kylie. And she said, look, I really think you'll get along well with Susan, and her book writing course is wonderful. So if it feels right for me, if I just know, I just get on with it. I love being an action taker. I'm not going to kind of deliberate too long over should I or shouldn't I. If it feels right, I just trust it and do it. And so that's what it was with Susan. I reached out and was lucky enough to do the Conscious Book Writing Club course with Susan. And it just made the process so much easier for me. If there's anyone out there who's considering writing a book, apply to do Susan's course. I know she gets booked out, but if you can get in there, it made the whole process a lot easier.
Thank you.
It does, doesn't it? Whenever you're set on the right track and you have that guidance, it helps you. A lot of people have inhibitions around writing a book. And when you have someone like Susan guiding you, and you're a Hay House author yourself, Susan, so you know how to deliver the message. So whenever you're guiding people, it saves time, it saves energy, it helps people laser focus on what they need to deliver. Because I know Jem's book came to us, and we were like, yeah, doesn't need to change very much. And he was like, what, really? And I'm like, no, it was so good. And because he started off on the right footing. And it is that, especially with your first book, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just, I find, I don't know, Karen, you've written so many books as well. It's a little bit of a lonely process, and you can get very much kind of lost in your own head around things. So to be able to do it as a group, and, Jem had an accountability partner as well. And I know that they, fed off each other and giving feedback. And it was great to see Jem's book unfold week to week. And so I just cannot wait till his book arrives in the mailbox so I can see the whole thing together.
Yes, for you and for everyone who's eagerly awaiting. Look, Jem's got his hardcover copy there. Yay! They're on the way, people. They're on their way. We promise. We promise. And please, when it comes, take a selfie with it. Please share the word, because that's how we get this message and keep this conversation going. Susan, I know you have to go, but thank you so much for dropping in and sharing the love and joining us for the launch of this amazing book. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, and all the best, and congratulations, Jem. Again, I just think, it's amazing. You're an amazing man.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for your guidance, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Susan, just before you go, when's your next course, and is it booked out?
I haven't actually advertised it yet. I have got a waiting list for it, but it's going to be at the end of January, the beginning of February. But on my website, so susanpearce.com or mindgardener KMDBooks.com. You can register your interest. And sometimes if I just get the pressure of people going, I want to do one now, I'll just put one on as well. But otherwise, stay tuned for end of January.
Yeah, and our other author who you sent to KMD Books as well. Well, you know, everyone says hi because it's just an amazing thing to be part of your course. You just have this amazing hub of people. It's wonderful. Thank you, Susan.
Yes, they're amazing. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Ah, isn't it wonderful? Right, you're going to give us our exclusive treat and then we're going to chat to Simon. Is that okay? Are you ready? Are you ready to deliver the exclusive TED Talk that you're going to deliver for us all tonight?
I am, but I'll be able to relax just a little bit more if I check in with Simon and say, hey, mate, thank you so much for coming. And are you okay to hang around for a
How are you, Jim? Congratulations. Yes, I am. I've been privileged enough to read the book first, or nearly finish it. I've got a good read of it, but I'm going to go back and read it again, which is something I've got to give you a pat on the back for. I don't normally read many books twice. So I'm going to have another read of it because there's some really good stuff in it. And I've been privileged enough to see a TED Talk. So very good, mate. But you've done very well on both levels. And I think it's, I'm very interested in your whole concept of conscious communication. I think that you make a very good point just in talking then that I find that what I'm seeing in the world is a whole lot of people shouting at each other. And one of the problems is, I mean, this technology is magnificent, but even in this, there's a two-way communication. Whereas for a whole lot of Twitter and Facebook, et cetera, there's I'm making my point and then you fight me. It's sort of almost the viewpoint that comes across from people. And one of the great things about, you know, the technology is we can reach out to everybody. But what I'm finding with technologies, especially something like Twitter, is that I can have a false name and a false picture and say anything I like about anybody and not be held accountable. And I think, as you talk about in the book, there's a whole lot of areas to communication, and one is the accountability of your words. Also, I think I've always stuck in the back of my mind something that was, and I can't remember the actual origin of it, but was one that stuck in my mind is that sometimes it shows a great command of the English language to say nothing. And that part of this side of the communication is, I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth and use them in that proportion. That part of the communication is really being open and accepting to what people are saying to you. And as you talk about, you talk about the ego in the book, and most people listen to respond rather than listen to hear. And there's a whole ego about that I have to get my viewpoint out and you have to listen to me. Where what you're talking about is that, there's two sides of communication, and you really want to make sure that you connect, as you just said before. We don't want to see a disconnect. We actually want to take the time to actually connect. And I do a little thing with people I work with. I just say, put your hand up, and so now I push, and as soon as I push they push back. And I say, well, you give it to me, and they put their hand up, and I just go, no. And all of a sudden they go, what's that? Now we're past the pushing stage. Can we just sit down and talk and listen? And I think there's some great points in the book, as you said, not just for men. I think it's definitely aimed at men because I'm the listener and the communicator I am now, compared to when I was 15, 25, 35, etc., is very different. And I think we're open to, and one of the parts about communication, as you speak, Jim, is about being open. And it's not about making a point of taking sides. It's about being open. And I think I'm much more open. I don't know if I'm any smarter than I was 40 years ago, but I'm about this much wiser, a little bit like this. Yeah. I think books like yours are very good for people to read because I think it adds a little bit to their wisdom, or to our wisdom, by just being open and reading and listening to what you have to say. Part of the communication.
Thank you so much, Simon. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who don't follow AFL, Simon Madden has been a hero of mine as a kid growing up and barracking for the Essendon Football Club. And Simon is an absolute hero of the Essendon Football Club and still involved with them. And so, mate, to have you read my book and then come along and spend some time here with us is awesome. So, thank you so much.
Look, mate, I've been in lockdown for 18 months. So I'm happy to talk to anybody, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, Simon, can we say then that you're a true advocate for this book and you highly recommend it? And guys, we did not script Simon. Everything that he said, came from him. So, and it's wonderful to get that response from the book, isn't it?
Well, it's just I'm really and you know, I've had conversation with Jem, and it's probably pre-second or third lockdown. I forget when it was. Jem, we were talking about doing stuff together because what he talks about and what we've discussed, it really resonates with me. So I'm, you know, I have two rules in business of life, and I'll do the subtler version, not the heavy. Don't lie to me. Don't stuff me around. All right, that's the gentler one. And I think being open to, you know, a bit more honesty, a bit more openness in conversation in the world. And as you said, people are shouting at each other much more. I think we need more about conscious communication. And it's not all about me; it's about us. I'm big on the latest one. I'm always. I said the day you stop learning is the day you die. So it's, you know, it's always great to find stuff. And for me at the moment, I'm big on investigating and looking at a South African tribal term called Ubuntu. And if you look it up online, at the software company Ubuntu gets a lot of coverage out of it first because they're paid to be high on the list. But below that, it's an African tribal term, and the best explanation, the best translation in Australian is, in English, or my Australian, is "I am because we are," and for me that's a very powerful term. And I think, you know, my conversation with Jem would be that he understands that. And I think one of the great things about a book like this is that that's part of it, that conscious communication is about us connecting. It's not about us being powerful over each other. It's about me understanding you more and about you understanding me more. And part of that is listening and having information and learning from books like this.
Yeah, well said. Thanks, Simon.
Oh, amazing. Hey, did you think that you would be working with Simon Madden when you started this process, Jem? A book goes on a journey. Oh, Simon, thank you so much for your input. I feel like you've shared an abundance of knowledge with us as well, and we really, truly value it. Thank you.
Good on you. Thanks, Karen. No problems.
So, Jem, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to unpin and I'm going to go and join Simon, and I'm going to leave you to it to deliver this exclusive TED Talk. We have lots of people in the attendees to watch. Okay.
Yep.
Take a drink.
You might be expecting a talk on communication to start with the power of language or choose your words wisely, but that's not where I'll begin. You see, in the weeks of gut-wrenching, heartbreaking and soul-destroying grief that followed the unexpected and instant death of my youngest brother on his motorbike, the communication was anything but carefully chosen words. For me, it was sobbing and wailing. It was shrieking and screaming. It was collapsing and catching. It was also shoulders to lean on, meals being prepared for us, dishes being cleaned and beds being made, the writing and singing of songs and the long, heavy silences. We grew up in a home with an open door policy, so too it was in grieving. Family and friends coming from far and wide to mourn and support each other through despair again. 4 months prior, our father had died from a brain tumour. My brother had flown back to Australia from Canada to be with us as a family, nursing Dad through palliative care at home. With our sibling gone now too, Mum had lost her life partner and the youngest of 4 kids within the space of a few months. I share this story with you not for pity, nor to play a violin. I share this story with you to connect. Grief is something you already know, or one day surely will. The word communication comes from the Latin noun communicatio, which means a sharing, and the Latin verb communicare, which means to make common. In our modern world of identity politics, public shaming, and cancel culture, where more and more people are shouting at each other across the digital divides of difference, determined not only to prove their point, but to destroy their enemies in the process, it seems, sadly, for many, communication is becoming a forgotten art. In the meantime, the biggest and most pressing problems for humanity, such as climate change, pandemics, and inequality, are things we very much have in common. Like death and grief, these things we all share. And despite the differences that people identify with and fight tooth and nail for, we are, very literally, all in this together. And if we don't come together to communicate, collaborate, and create global solutions, we will run out of time, and then nothing much will matter at all. It is communication that enables us to traverse diversity and collectively combine. It is communication that allows us to coordinate across countries and create global solutions. It is only with communication we can share an idea, move beyond the fear, and manifest it into reality. It is communication that is the pathway to nurturing and fostering our closest and most intimate relationships. And these, our deepest connections, play directly into the quality of our personal lives. In the absence of communication, there is only disconnect and distance. There can be no communion, no resolution, no solutions. In that void, we perish. I have some ideas. Ideas I believe are worth sharing. Ideas on how to preserve and evolve this most vital human skill. Ideas that, if spread, can reignite that which I believe we deeply already know. 1, open-mindedness matters. 2, consideration matters. 3, teaching the next generation matters. Open-mindedness matters. In our ego's desperate plight to fight for identity survival, to defend itself and its precious ideologies, it is blinkered and closed, blindly opposed to any other perspectives. If we can remember that it's completely fine to loosen our tight grip on the way we think things should be, that actually there's a plethora of alternative possibilities and perhaps sometimes more functional ways. If we can remember to open our mind, we can find each other in communication. Do you remember the times you've lost yourself in the heated emotion of an argument? Was the immediate outcome ever resolve? Or did reconciliation only evolve in the calmer waters of the post-storm sea? Loosen your grip, open your mind, remain curious and breathe. There be easier ways forward. Consideration matters. Consideration of context, intent, timing and delivery, interpersonal consideration, cultural consideration. In the days before I walked across the border from India to Pakistan as a backpacker in the 90s, I went to a tailor and purchased traditional Shalwar kameez. I learnt to say Assalamu alaikum and a handful of Urdu words. This simple consideration and respect of difference opened up an experience of remarkable hospitality, connection and communication otherwise unlikely to have occurred. On a public bus in the remote northern mountains of the Hindu Kush, I had a conversation with a university student, a devout Muslim and young father. He was open to me, a dreadlocked, bearded Aussie, dressed in his style and making an effort. His English was much better than my Urdu, and I will always remember his analogy to exemplify our commonality. He simply said, if we cut your skin here and we cut my skin here, we have the same coloured blood. You and me, we are the same, he said. Consideration can lead to connection through what we have in common. From this foundation, we can break bread together, celebrate diversity, and broaden our respective horizons. I may not agree with everything you say, but I promise to consider your perspective before making up my mind. Teaching the next generation matters. It's easy to feel like what we do as an individual won't really make a difference, to think I can't change the world. But when there's a groundswell of individuals sharing good ideas, movements can form. And with education, generational change takes place. I'm calling out to parents and teachers, to uncles and aunties, to elders within communities, to schools and universities. Please dedicate some resource, your time and intent, to show our young people more functional ways to communicate. It's not too late, and every piece of guidance contributes. Perhaps our future high schools have classes of conscious communication in their curriculum. Let's teach our teens to pause and not react, to take a breath, listen, and then respond. Let's show them there's a wide world of ways and not only one path. Let's ignite their cultural curiosity and remind them that every single other human being on the planet needs oxygen and water, food and shelter, is nourished in authentic connection, feels the pain of loss, and one day too will die. We are the same in many ways, you and I. Parenting isn't easy. I know that to be true. I've had some of my finest and ugliest moments as a father. Sometimes it's felt like my most gallant attempts at conscious communication have fallen on deaf ears. As I watch my teenage boys becoming young men in front of me, I can only hope my efforts in communication with them positively influence the way they move through life. Open your mind to points of view. Consider others are trying to work it out too, and pay this forward as you move on through. My hope is that we, us humans, can move away from the dangerous distractions of bickering online about difference of opinions that in the grand scheme of things don't really matter. That we can free ourselves from the algorithmic feedback loops, the social media echo chambers, capitalizing off our predisposition for confirmation bias. My hope is that we can evolve to refocus on the things that really matter. The biggest, most imminent and important problems are problems for us all, not just some. And the solutions will only be found when we work together, harnessing the power of diversity through more conscious communication. Thank you. So that was the TED Talk. And while I've got the mic, I want to implore you all, please, you can see obviously that I'm really passionate about this. I do care about this. If any of that resonated with you, if you agree and think, yes, we need more conscious communication, can you please do me a favor and go onto YouTube, search up the TED Talk and share it. Please share it. And I'm saying this not because I want views, to have a number on a screen saying I had so many views. I really don't care about that. What I do care about is this message being shared, because I think the world needs to hear it right now. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Thank you.
Oh, please stay on your soapbox. Holy moly. I just want to big claps from everyone. We've got a few comments here that I will read, but I will say what a privilege it is to be sitting in this moment, listening to you deliver that to us exclusively. Not even on a TEDx stage. You don't even need a TEDx stage, but that will help you get this message out. And it's doing really well. It's over 5,000 views already. It's going to be 1 million, we know, but we need everybody on board, don't we?
Yep.
We absolutely do. Okay, guys, I'm going to share a page with you, and then you can see where everything is. I'm just going to, I'll share screen. There we go. This page is on KMD Books. It's www.kmdbooks.com/the art of CC. Here you will find all links all over the world to grab your copy of the book. A lot of you have already grabbed yours at KMD Books and they're on the way to you. And then there's a lovely, a bio from the book and a blurb from the book and a bio from Jem. You can check out his website. This is an interview we did earlier, which is worth a look. And Jem is on Ticker News on International Men's Day on November 19th. So you can tune into that as well. If you watch KMD Books, you will see that happening. And there's this launch and there's the TEDx talk. Okay. And he's already been featured in these amazing things about the book, and that this list is going to grow. Watch this space. But I thought I would share that as one port that you can go and see everything. Okay, I'm just going to stop our share. Okay, the there's so many people. Are you seeing all these comments here?
I'll just look at some of the comments, yeah, and it was yeah, overwhelming is not quite the right word, but very, very lovely. And I actually just closed the chat box because it was
Yeah. There's so much, and it started with Mike Hennessy in the middle going, love this. There we go. Amazing. So guys, all I can say is we're going to come to the end because we're going a bit over time. But Jem, is there anyone that you want to say thanks to? You want to say, to anybody who's watching on Facebook before we stop off the live? And then I'll talk to everybody in the attendees about how they can come to the after party.
Firstly, I want to say thank you to you again, Karen. Having you there as my publisher has just been amazing and made the whole process so easy. Again, I want to say thank you to Simon Madden for coming along, mate. I really, really appreciate your time. I want to say thank you to everybody who's come along, everyone who's watching live on Facebook. We're about to say goodbye to you. And just again, I would like to implore you, please go share the TED Talk, grab the book. If you want to get the book on Kindle, it's only like nothing. It's a few bucks.
We're number 9 on Kindle. Let's help us get to number 1 today. So you can go to the Australian Kindle, grab your copy today and help us get to number 1. Be part of that mission, and that will help us spread the word wider as well.
Yeah, and the Kindle version's like $7 or $8. It's a
$6.99. Yeah,
$6.99. But do they need to go to kindle.com.au? Is that
Amazon.com.au? If you go to the KMD page, the Art of CC, it's there. All the links to everything's there.
Beautiful. So please go on there and grab that Kindle. And with your help, we really can get this message out there and make a difference.
We have enough people in the attendees to get that over the line to number 1. So if you do that, we will be so grateful. I'm going to, and everyone who's watching online, hello and goodbye. And on YouTube, we're going to switch off. But thank you so much. Grab the book, get the selfie, share with everyone about the art of conscious communication, because it is an art. It's a fine art. And as Simon said, 2 ears, 1 mouth. There you go. I love it. Bye, everyone.
From Facebook, yeah.
From Facebook.